Pakistan's Prime Minister is facing renewed protests from his opponents. They say Imran Khan is involved in a foreign funding scandal and claim he came to power through a rigged vote. So, will they succeed in unseating him? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the programme. I'm Vinell. An alliance of opposition parties in Pakistan has held its first rally of the year against the government, demanding Prime Minister Imran Khan step down. The Pakistan Democratic Movement, or PDM, called on supporters to gather outside the Election Commission, alleging Khan fraudulently financed his campaign. They say the Prime Minister accepted illegal funds from abroad during the 2013 elections. Last week, Khan's party admitted raising campaign funds through foreign accounts, but blamed illegalities on agents in the US without specifying exactly who they were. PDM leaders say Khan committed a national crime and should be punished. We'll bring in our panel of experts shortly, but first, this report from Kamal Haider in Islamabad.
Supporters of the Pakistan Democratic Alliance are right now present in front of the Election Commission of Pakistan, which is situated in the red zone. Normally, protests are not allowed in this area. However, the government has said that it will keep all the roads open in order for the opposition to come and lodge its protest in front of the Election Commission of Pakistan in the foreign funding case against the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, that's the party led by Imran Khan. But if the opposition was promising to make this a real powerful show of force, it has been unable to muster the kind of support that it has been able to during the rallies across Pakistan. The government, on the other hand, is still very confident that they will be able to complete their tenure. But this particular opposition alliance, known as the Pakistan Democratic Alliance, is an amalgamation of 11 political parties with various and different ideologies, and they do not agree yet on the tactics and the strategies. However, they are hopeful that they will be able to bring their people against the government in a show of massive support in order to force Imran Khan's government to step down. Kamal Haider for Inside Story.
Well, the PDM alliance was formed 4 months ago, marking the first time in history all of Pakistan's opposition parties have united in a common cause to force Khan from power. Here's why. PDM leaders allege the military rigged the 2018 elections that brought Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party to power. They say Khan's government is just a puppet for the military and its agenda. The Prime Minister is also struggling to cope with a severe economic decline, unemployment and one of the worst inflation rates in Asia. A steep rise in food prices has led to public discontent with his policies. Many are also angry that Khan has so far failed to initiate economic reforms that he promised. His plan to widen Pakistan's tax base is expected to fail, and he's offered no clear solution to deal with the country's foreign debt of more than $100 billion. For more on this, I'm joined now by our guests. In Islamabad, Shibli Faraz, Information Minister for Imran Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Party. In Peshawar, Shiraz Paracha, political analyst and commentator. And in Karachi, Miftah Ismail, politician for the Pakistan Muslim League. He also served as finance minister for the former Prime Minister, Nawaz Sharif. A very warm welcome to you all. I'd like to begin with this foreign funding, misuse of funds allegations. We've seen these protests today. This has been described as the biggest scandal in Pakistan's political history. Shibli Faraz, can you give me an update? Has the PTI turned over all of the requested documents to the Election Commission of Pakistan? Where is that at?
Well, thank you very much, Kim, for having me on your program. Secondly, as you were talking about the Election Commission of Pakistan and the opposition PDM's protest in regard to the foreign funding case. Well, I want to put that on record that Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf is the first political party which started a proper, organized, recorded system of donations from its party members, our diaspora, and we maintain, we have a very qualified chartered accountants who maintain our books. And we have, in this case, we have submitted to the Election Commission of Pakistan 40,000 notarized and authenticated proofs of all the donations that have come from abroad. And we have submitted this since long ago, but PDM, the opposition coalition, which is trying its best to kind of destabilize the democratically elected government, is almost on its knees, because their protest has not attracted people of Pakistan, because they know that these governments, the past governments, especially the Pakistan People's Party, Pakistan Muslim League Noon, and Maulana Fazlur Rahman, they have really damaged this country, and they have indulged in massive corruption. And our latest revelation of that has been the broadsheet case, apart from the Panama scandal that came up in 2016.
Okay.
So
before we move on from the foreign funding scandal, the issue at hand, the reason that people turned out to protest, I just want to bring in Miftah Ismail. Do you trust the Election Commission to bring about a just and a timely response?
Thank you so much for having me. The Election Commission has taken inordinately long to decide this matter. The first initial case was filed by a PTI founding member in 2014. So it has taken 6 long years, and PTI has used every dilatory tactic it can, every delaying technique it can, to not submit the documents. There are very, very few simple questions that we ask. One, where is this money coming from? Who is it that's funding PTI? It could be Pakistanis, it could be foreigners. And if these Pakistanis are, what is the quantum of money, and are those industries being helped now by the Khan regime? And secondly, where is this money going? Is this money going just for political party reasons, or is it going for personal expenses? And why are there so many shell companies that PTI has formed to channel these donations into? Why is there such a complicated web of financial arrangements if you're just going to get some donations? Okay. Now, 6 years have passed. PTI has not really answered a single question, and they're just trying to delay. So we are now protesting. I'm not particularly sure that the ECP will still decide, because to be very honest with you, everybody knows in Pakistan it's an open and shut case. PTI is definitely guilty of this, and their party registration will end, but the government would fall. But obviously, the government is doing everything it can to delay the proceedings.
Shiraz Paracha, we haven't had a ruling or a response yet from the Election Commission. It has been going on for a long time. Do you think that Imran Khan is feeling the heat?
This is the first real challenge for this government. Because of their own tactics and because of their own strategy related to this case, because they've been accused of using delaying tactics, and it took them 6 years, the Election Commission, and it hasn't been decided yet. And then it looks more dubious when the PTI tried to, wasn't very open and clear about this case. So they are in real trouble, because there is something which they have to answer for.
Okay, I can see you smiling there, Mr. Faraz. Before we move on from the foreign funds allegations, is there any response you'd like to give to what you've heard so far?
Definitely. I would like to clarify that it's been only 30 months that we are in government. Previous 4 years my colleague, Mr. Miftah Ismail's, his government was there. Election Commission is an independent constitutional body, and we have put all our proofs and our financial record in front of the scrutiny committee constituted by the Election Commission of Pakistan. Whereas I'm sorry to say that I would slightly disagree with your analyst, Mr. Paracha, and that it's been basically People's Party and Pakistan Muslim League Noon. We have not delayed it. The case was in Supreme Court, and it was then referred to Election Commission of Pakistan. So we have done what we had to do, and we are under no pressure. We are not feeling the heat, because we know that Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf is the first party which has brought in a very systematic, very transparent system of collecting funds. Whereas Pakistan Muslim League has always, and People's Party, they have always counted on the invested interest groups, on the land grabbers, and all the illegal people who are involved in illegal activities, because then they do the quid pro quo, that when they come into the government, then they return the favors. So it is the first time that Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf has a very transparent way of collecting funds from its party people. It's just $10, $12, $15, $100, $50. So we are quite relaxed. And that's why, you know, that the procession or called by these 11 parties could hardly muster 2,000 people, which is, I think, you know, it says it all.
Okay, I want to move on from the foreign funding issue. Mr. Ismail, how do you think, I mean, you obviously feel like Imran Khan and the PTI is under pressure, regardless of what Mr. Faraz says. How do you think that Imran Khan has gotten to this point? I mean, in the years since he's taken office, how has he gotten here?
When he came to power, and even though we believe and we have actually trusted and said that, you know, these elections were rigged, and, you know, and Imran was selected and not really elected. But nonetheless, there were a lot of Pakistanis who did vote for Imran Khan, who did support him. And many Pakistanis were very hopeful that now that he's here, he's going to hopefully do some of the things that he said he would do. But this man has, I mean, you know, what we call U-turns or flip-flop in America, or, you know, just basically lies. I mean, you know, everything that he said, he's actually gone against it. This is not a democratic regime by any chance, by any imagination. I mean, this is really a sort of a semi-fascist government where there is a lot of curtailment on the media and the free speech. Inflation in Pakistan is running in double digits, especially food inflation. Our economy, when I was the finance minister and we left it, it was growing at 5.8%. Now, last year it was negative 0.4%. This year, hopefully, they'll grow by 2% maximum. They've not been able to collect as much taxes as I did in my last year. The deficits, they've made record deficits in Pakistan. The debt, they've added 40% of the debt to Pakistan's overall debt in just 2 years. What we added in 70 years, they've added in 2 years, 40% of that.
We're going to get into the. We're going to nail down or drill down into the economy in a moment. But before we do, I'd like to come back to you, Mr. Paracha, to pick up on something that Mr. Ismail said there. He talked about the military and military support of Imran Khan. How much military support does Prime Minister Khan have, and why is that so important for our international audience who doesn't understand, who may not understand the role of the military in Pakistan? Put that into context for us.
Okay, thank you. The Pakistani military considers itself as the custodian of state ideology. Pakistan military chiefs usually publicly they say that we are not only the defenders of Pakistani physical geographical borders, we are also defenders of Pakistan's ideological borders. Out of Pakistan's 73 years history, 35 years the military has ruled the country directly, and the rest of the time they were ruling, they were controlling from behind the scenes. It's an open secret in Pakistan that the military controls the foreign policy and internal security policy, and now they are also involved in economy. The reason, the rationale for that, from military point of view, is that Pakistani politicians and political parties are not trained enough, they are not mature enough, they cannot be trusted to run the affairs. Therefore, we will manage the economy, we will manage the foreign policy, we will manage the internal policies. Now, Imran Khan is the first prime minister in the history of Pakistan who says it openly that the military and his government are on the same page. He is the one who mentions military most of the time in his speeches, in his statements, and he gives this impression, he makes these claims that the military is backing him, the military is with him, whatever policies he follows, whatever policy he pursues. So in a way, military was in the politics for the last 73 years. I mean, they were, it was known, people were saying that military is one of the major players, but in the past 3 years, now it appears that the current government, the Prime Minister Imran Khan prefers to associate and back on and depend on the military support. And he says the military and PTI are on the same page, pursuing the same policies for the defense of Pakistan, for the betterment of Pakistan, for the development of Pakistan. And he believes this is the right path.
Okay. Mr. Shibli, Faraz, I'd like to come back to you. We talk about the economy. GDP growth was at a decade high when Imran Khan took power, 5.8%. Even before the pandemic, it had shrunk to 1.9%. That was 2018-19. Now it's gone into the negative for the first time in 70 years. There was a downward trend here already. The numbers say that. How responsible is Imran Khan and the PTI here, or did you just inherit a difficult situation?
Yes, definitely. Before I go on to the economy, I would like to clarify that what Mr. Paracha said. There's no doubt that the military has been in power on different occasions. But this time around, when Imran Khan, who is the most popular leader in Pakistan, and he always was very popular amongst the youth of this country because he was a cricket star, he was an international athlete, and he had done a lot of social work before coming into power, like making a cancer hospital, making universities, and doing other social work. So he was already a known person in this country, and the reason people voted for him was that people were fed up with the two-party system which they would take turns and destroyed the economy and the institutions of this country. So that's why the people of Pakistan chose Imran Khan as their prime minister and their most popular leader, because Imran Khan has an a great record of being an honest man, and he's a great leader, and that's why they elected him. And now the only complaint that the opposition, which is hiding behind the economic figures or through these protests, is because Imran Khan is going after them because he wants, as the people mandated him, to get the money, stolen money, back from abroad. So that is why they are talking like this. Now, I
want to challenge you on those numbers. Like I said,
right from
the economy is shrinking. The cost of living is going up.
Yes.
So what's your response to that?
Okay, let me tell you, Kim, that you know that when our government came, we are already in a highly indebted situation. And that is why everybody was saying, why do you go to a doctor when you are not well? That's why we had to immediately go to IMF, because our economy was not doing well. And this is what they left. Pakistan, basically, after we came into the power, our first job was to stabilize economy. They had artificially put the dollar value just to encourage imports, and they had made it as an import-driven economy. And similarly, their exports were shrinking. So we just stabilized, we devalued the currency to brought it to its real value. And as a result, our foreign debt obviously would increase in the local currency terms. Secondly, after that, we stabilized the economy, we stabilized the exchange rate, we increased the exports. Our exports are rising and they are at record. Our foreign remittances are at record. Our large-scale manufacturing is going up. Our current account deficit, which was at a whopping $60 billion, we brought it down by $20 billion within this short span of time.
I've got to make sure I've got to make sure everyone has an opportunity here.
The pandemic,
I've got to make sure everyone here has an opportunity to respond. We only have such a certain amount of... Very quickly, go ahead.
Just last comment, that despite COVID, our economy has done very well. The economies are across the world, the established economies like US, UK, Europe, Brazil, Japan, all have shrunk record. So saying that Pakistan economy for the first time is negative would be a bit unfair, because we did extremely well on the COVID front, and people, including the ex-finance secretary of US, said that if America had followed Pakistan's example, we would have saved $10 trillion.
Okay,
so
I hear you. I hear what you're saying.
We have managed
I need
such
to give
catastrophe.
Mr. Ismail the right of reply. I can see you shaking your head, sir. Go ahead.
Well, I think that my friend has some of these numbers wrong. Exports actually, so far, Pakistan's highest exports were in the year that Muslim League Noon was in government. When the year that I left as finance minister, our exports were $24.75 billion. In their first year before COVID came, they actually reduced exports by $500 million or 2%. And the next year, during the COVID year, they again reduced exports by $22 billion.
Can you tell me how this translates for everyday people, though? I want to know what the cost of living, what this means for the cost of living, what this means for people who want to buy rice, what this means for everyday people.
So the thing is that after 40% devaluation, they are still not able to increase exports. But what happened was that they've doubled the price of sugar. We left at the price of 155 rupees per kg. It went to 115 rupees. They've doubled the price of wheat flour. There is shortage of wheat flour. Right now, after 2 years of, the last 2 years of PMLN, there were no shortage of energy. Now there is no natural gas in your stoves, in your factories. There is electricity load shedding. There's something called circular debt, which is the power sector deficit. That has actually gone up. They've increased gas tariffs by 140%. They've increased power tariffs by 50%. And yet there is a lot of deficit in those two areas. This really, I mean, even people who support Imran Khan know that this is the most incompetent government there ever has been.
Okay.
And the number of cases, just one last point, if I may, that they had a minister who comes in 15 days, he allows drug companies to raise drug prices by 500%. He was then removed and made Secretary General of the party, but no action was taken against him, and the prices have never been reduced. So from medicines to wheat flour, the PTI has touched a lot of things, and they've made everything worse.
OK, we could go back and forth, but we also are here for analysis. I'd like to come back to you, Mr. Paracha. If the country is really at a point of mass movement, if the opposition does have all of this momentum, why not just table a no-confidence motion against Imran Khan? How much momentum do you think the opposition really has right now?
I think that opposition has to go a long way. They have been able to organize rallies, big rallies in certain cities, but they don't have yet the momentum where everybody comes out on the streets and protests against the government and builds a pressure which can, force a government or forces, in case of Pakistan, that they have the power to change the government. So I don't think opposition is at that stage yet where they can remove the government by street protests. Yes, through in-house, through a movement of no confidence, they can remove the government because Imran Khan has slim majority. Actually, he relies on his allies. He doesn't have enough numbers to keep the government of his own party. But again, even if the opposition brings that no confidence move, the next government will be a weak government, depending on independence and lots of other smaller partners. And also the opposition says that in Pakistan, the parliament, the military establishment has a big say in formation of governments. Even they can manipulate and they can make manures in the parliament and decisions and lawmaking. So they say if the establishment guarantees them that they would back out or they would not support Imran Khan, as Imran says they are on the same page, maybe they are able to remove Imran Khan. Mm-hmm. But they think that at this time, as we speak, Imran Khan has the full backing and support of the establishment. Okay. So when that is there, it's difficult for opposition to bring a no confidence move, and mm-hmm. they are out on the streets protesting. Okay, thank you so much for your time. We have to leave it there. We are out of time. I appreciate you coming on the program. Thank you to all of our guests, Shibli, Faraz, Shiraz Paracha and Miftah, Ismail, and thank you too for watching. You can see the program again anytime by visiting our website, aljazeera.com. And for further discussion, go to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. You can also join the conversation on Twitter. Our handle is @AJ Inside Story. From me, Kim Vinell, and from the whole team here, bye-bye for now.